Hello there, welcome to Afternoon Tea with Pebble Geo. We're live for just sort of maybe 10, sort of 15 minutes. This is our sort of regular weekly-ish, I would say, chance just to show you a few aspects of what Pebble Geo can do, intended both for people who might be considering Pebble Geo, but also obviously for people who already use Pebble Geo to make sure that you're getting the most out of the product. So without further ado, I shall go into screen sharing mode. So my name is Ben Wood. I'm the MD for Pebble Geo. Many of you will know me, but if you don't, I'll be one of the people you can contact if you have questions about Pebble Geo. You can always get in touch with us through hello@pebblegeo.com. Check out the website for all the contact information and so on. What we're going to show you today in today's afternoon tea session is what we call data tips and tricks. So this is just going to be a few little sort of handy hints for when you're entering data or working with data in Pebble Geo that you might not know about or that might save you a bit of hassle or time or stress. Okay, so here we go. Close a few things down. Get my desktop arranged, and here we go. So I'm going to start off here in the Pebble Geo desktop app. And I'm basically just going to start a new project to get going with this. So I'm going to click the Start Logging using Excel, and I'm going to go for the project-based Excel workbook. And I'm just going to choose a folder, work into my Afternoon Tea desktop folder. I'm going to accept these defaults just to get a new, basically, trial pit borehole logging workbook going. So give that a second just to generate and load. And I'm just going to show you a few interesting things. So here's the Excel workbook. For those that you don't know, those of you who don't know, so all the trial pit borehole logging, etc., in Pebble Geo is done using Excel templates. These workbooks or templates are just pure Excel. So here I'm just in the Excel application. I'm just going to start logging something. So I'm going to put TPO1. And the first thing I just want to show you is how little information you have to put into Pebble Geo before you can get it to do something. So I'm just going to click Save on there. I'm going to come back to the app, and that will highlight the refresh button because it's detected a change to the file. So I'm going to pull that change back through. And already we've got TPO1 here. Okay, so I can already print the logs from there. I'll accept the defaults. I'm not going to label the print options in this particular demo today. Okay, not very exciting, but you can see here it's just to make you appreciate from a data perspective that you don't have to fill out every field before you hit print on Pebble Geo workflows. Okay. So I'm going to start logging some geology for this demonstration. So I'm going to leave this location information as it is. I don't even need to set the type or anything. I'm just going to go to my Geol tab and start coding some strata. Okay, zoom that up so you can see it properly. So across the workbook, in every sheet, you're going to have to key which borehole or trial pit you're working into, because we've got TPO1 in here. I'm going to select that. It's my only option at the moment. And then I'm just going to code, say, a meter of made ground. I'm going to put the legend code in so the hatching pattern works properly. And then I'm going to add a couple more strata. I'm just going to make something up. So you'll have to forgive me if I enter nonsense, but I'm just going to put a couple of material types in here. Now, what I'm trying to show you here is, if I could type, it would be helpful. So let's say I've got 3 layers in there. I'm going to choose silt for that one just to make them distinctive. So the first thing I want to mention is that I've left these 2 cells here blank. So what Pebble Geo will do in any of the sheets, as soon as you put a location ID in one of the rows, it will assume you mean the same ID until you tell it otherwise. So let's just save that and hit refresh and see what it does in the logs. And print logs. And hopefully we should have a PDF with 3 nice strata depicted here. So that's just to make sure you're aware that when you're in the Excel, you don't have to select TPO1, etc. for every row. It will auto expect the next row, if it's blank, to be the previous value. Right, so the next thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to make another hole in here, so TPO2, and I'm going to key some geology. I'm going to put my first stratum into TPO2. So we found 1.5 meters of made ground there, let's say. Again, ignore the actual data. It's just to illustrate the data entry. And then let's say I'm into, I don't know, silty bouldery clay. It doesn't really matter what I put here. There we go. Okay. And I'm just going to save that. I'm going to say, okay, oops, I missed a stratum of TPO1. What do I do? Okay, so because it's pure Excel, let's say I want to put something below this 3 meter level of the silt in TPO1. I've already started TPO2. Now, in a standard Excel workbook, you might expect to insert a row. Because these workbooks are pre-formatted, we've basically locked down the templates. They're protected sheets. You can unprotect them here if you need to. But what we'd advise here in this scenario is just go back to TPO1 and add another stratum. So I'm going to pick TPO1 here. I'm going to add in my one that I missed out of there. I'm going to just put, I don't know, I'll just put something random. Doesn't really matter what I put here. Okay, so you can see now we've got some stratum out of sequence. So we've got 3 in TPO1, 2 in TPO2, and then another one in TPO1. So let's save that and see what happens. Okay, and print the logs and see how they look. Okay, so you can see here it's actually added my 4th stratum into TPO1 perfectly fine, no problems at all. It's kept my 2 stratum in TPO2. So that's just to show you, if you miss something out, you can put a row of data anywhere in these workbooks and it will figure it out as long as you put the correct location ID. If this is bugging you in this workbook, what you can then do is if I close the Excel down, I'm just going to refresh, make sure I've got all that data loaded. Okay, I can then just re-export back to Excel. So if I want to fix that file, I can just click the export convert. I can go to Excel, and then I can just go back out to Project Excel. I'll give it a different name this time. I'll call it -fixed. Click Save. That's just going to export the data that we've got currently in the session back out to a fresh Excel workbook. And if we look in here in our Joel sheet, we will now see that it's resequenced everything. So these first 4 strata for TPO1 have now been put at the top, and then the second set of strata are now in the bottom. So if you get in a bit of a muddle with your, say, any sheet, I'm just using Joel here as an example, but any of the worksheets in the Excel workbook, just import it and then re-export it. We'd advise saving it to a separate file just in case of any issues, but you could save it back on top and it will just replace the file. So that's one way to fix that. Okay. So the next thing I want to show you is what if I've got my boreholes logged in the Project Excel workbook and I want to switch to the single borehole because I want to take them out into the field, say on a tablet. I can do that the same way here. Go to the Export Convert menu, choose Excel again, but this time I'm going to tab across to this individual Excel option here. Click OK. I'm going to choose a folder. I'm going to make a new folder just for clarity. I'm going to call this single borehole data. And that's just going to re-export the exact same data set into the alternative template. So you can see here we've got TPO1 and TPO2 as Excel files. And these are now in this sort of tablet-friendly workbook. It's all the same data. So if I go to my Joel, all the strata are there. So that's just to show that's an option. If you're working with the Plus version of Pebble Geo, you can also export this out to an AGS file. So if I go again to the Export Convert menu, choose the AGS function. I have to put in the producer and the receiver, so it's a valid file. I'll just type nonsense in there, click OK, continue with export, and I will just give this a name. Just call it demo. Okay. The data will look the same in Pebble Geo, whether it's come from Excel or not, but I'll just prove that this AGS file has been generated here. And there we go. So it's just to give you a flavor of how to fix Excel files, if things are out of sequence, and then how to convert them into different formats. The final thing I'm just going to show you is what if you're working directly with an AGS file, say it's come from a contractor or a lab. I'm going to delete all these extra files here just for clarity. So say I've got this AGS file here and it's come from somewhere external or even internal. I can just drag and drop that into Pebble Geo. and that will load. This is a stripped down version of a real project. It's a Silvertown tunnel. It's not our data, it's open data from the BGS. Just using it as an example, I could then export that back out to Excel. So I convert the other way. I'm tabbed here onto individual. I'm going to go back to project Excel. I'm just going to call it demo again. You can choose, obviously call it whatever you like. I'm going to re-import that. And here's the same data now into Excel. So it's just to give you an idea that you can go backwards and forwards, just in case you weren't aware. And the last thing I'm going to show you is back to the Excel again, delete the XLSX. I'm going to go back to this AGS file. I'm going to drag and drop it. And the final thing that I'm going to talk about is what if there's data in there that doesn't print to the logs, but you want to do something with it. So, for example, like the lab test. So if the AGS files come from the lab, you can go export convert, because obviously, as we know, AGS is basically a text file, but it's quite hard to work with manually. There's an option here for CSV. So if I click on the CSV option, what it will do, and this will work either for an Excel import or an AGS import, it will show me all of my data groups within the file, within the data set. And some of those, obviously, in this case, are going to be the lab tests. So if I click continue, just choose a folder, click save, and I will export and open basically a big file of CSVs, sorry, a big folder of CSV files. It's just a handy way to get that AGS style data out into a more usable format. So let's take the liquid limit, plastic limit group, for example. I can open that with Excel. And you can see here, so this is basically the AGS group just basically pushed out to Excel format, CSV format. So from there, obviously, you can imagine you can do other calculations on it, and or you could create charts, etc. So it just gives you that little extra way out for your AGS data. You can also filter that. So any of these exports, if I only want, say, G17, 18, and 22 in an export, I just check them on. So let's push this out to Excel, for example. I'm going to go for the project Excel format. I'm going to call that demo again. And then hopefully that will create an Excel file with just those 3 locations in. So it gives you a bit of filtering power as well. Okay. So that is basically today's afternoon tea. I'm flying solo today, I should have said. So Tracy isn't available today. So I'm going to have to stop sharing and just sneak back and see if there's any questions coming in. I don't think we have any. So I'll just leave it a few seconds in case anyone has any questions about that. No questions. Okay. So thanks very much for tuning in, or if you're watching this back later. Oh, quick question sneaking in. Can you convert the other way and turn multiple single borehole templates into one project template? Yes, you can. So all of these operations, whether you're going backwards or forwards, you can do it with any of the formats. So you can go from Excel to AGS, AGS back to Excel, AGS to single borehole, project Excel to single borehole. So that all works. So yeah. So any more questions before I leave you all to the rest of your Friday afternoon? Perfect. Okay, so thank you very much, and hopefully we'll do another afternoon tea next week. If you have any questions in the meantime or any comments, etc., please just get in touch. So it's hello@pebblegeo.com, and we look forward to seeing you again in a few days.